Hi, my name is Eric Smith, and this is an excerpt from my pet project, Stories from Q-Ville. Cosmo Foley went on a trip to Harlem, New York. His plan was to visit an orphanage and bring a wizard child to Q-Ville. That child was DeShawn Kimball. He was the son of Julian and Cheryl Kimball, but they were shot on a trip to Las Vegas, and DeShawn was placed in the care of his paternal grandmother, Rhonda Kimball. When DeShawn was 8 years old, his grandmother died, and he was placed in the orphanage. Cheryl Grindle had been born in the castle on Slifa Island. She moved to New York when she was 19 years old. She found love in a skinny black man from Harlem, and they got married. They had DeShawn and died 2 years later. When Cosmo arrived at the orphanage, he was happy to see the young man. DeShawn was 10 years old now and looked like the perfect mix of his parents. He had his father's skin tone, nose, and hairline, while he had his mother's magical ability, blue eyes, and jawline. Cosmo had met Cheryl before she left the kingdom. DeShawn Kimball, do you know what you are? He asked the child. The boy thought for a second. I can do magic, is that what you mean? Nodding, Cosmo said, yes. I too am a wizard like you. DeShawn looked around his room, which was a small room with white walls, a dresser, a closet, the twin bed that DeShawn sat upon, a desk, and a reclining chair that Cosmo sat upon. On the bed beside DeShawn sat a pigeon, which the boy had trained to do what he wanted. The older wizard spoke after a moment. If you like, I can take you to a special country that will openly have magic everywhere. DeShawn's well-sculpted jaw dropped. Really? He said excitedly. Can I bring Simon here? And my two best friends? Cosmo paused. You may absolutely bring the bird. Are your friends living here? The boy nodded. Royboy and Jack live down the hall. Do you want to meet them? Yes, let's do that, Cosmo said, nervous but confidently. He would find a home for these boys if he needed to. The orphanage in Q-Ville had a good record for permanent home placement, after all. That would be a secondary result, should he return with 3 children. As DeShawn waved the next door open, he said, This is Royboy's room. Cosmo grabbed the boy's shoulder and bent down to calmly tell him, I must implore you not to use magic in front of the non-magical community. There are international laws that we must follow. You can save that for our destination. DeShawn said humbly, I'm sorry, sir. My friends, you see, can also do magic. Cosmo asked, Really? 2 more orphan wizards? DeShawn laughed. Jack is a wizard. I don't think Royboy is actually human. Cosmo sputtered, What is he then? The boy waved the door shut and whispered, We think he's an alien. An alien, you say, Cosmo said. We have extraterrestrials in Q-Ville. Great, DeShawn smiled. Maybe they can help him find his home. Let's meet Royboy, Cosmo said, waving the door back open. They walked in and Royboy was prominent in the center of the room, looking at the intruders. Cosmo could immediately tell which extraterrestrial race this young one belonged to. Royboy was tall, skinny, and charcoal black. His eyes glowed purple. Currently, he was wearing a wig under a Yankees hat and wearing a Slayer t-shirt under an open baseball jersey, black jeans, and black and white high-top sneakers. It's nice to meet you, Royboy, Cosmo offered his hand. You are a wizard, Royboy said, just like my friends. You know what I am? Cosmo asked curiously. I do, Royboy replied. You do? DeShawn asked. Didn't you? Royboy asked. I would have told you, but I thought you knew. Do you then know why I have come? Cosmo asked. I do not, Royboy replied. Do you know what you are? Cosmo asked politely. I believe that I am from another planet, but I know not which planet or my species, the young alien explained. I do, Cosmo said. You are from a race of extraterrestrials from a faraway planet called Andoria. You are Andorian, and I would like to take you to my home country. My nation is allied with the Andorian race. We have about 40 Andorians in Q-Ville, including one known as General Anaki. Other alien species are also in the kingdom. We have magical and non-magical people, and they get along peacefully. Are you interested? Yes, Royboy said. I owe you a debt of gratitude. Endorian. I am Endorian. So you'll come? DeShawn asked. Yes, Royboy said. May I bring my pet goldfish? You may, Cosmo smiled. All right, let's go talk to Jack. DeShawn waved open the next room and turned to Cosmo. Gotcha, he laughed. That's the bathroom. Cosmo smiled. Sense of humor. Very good. Well played. There was only one more door, and DeShawn waved it open. Cosmo's first thought when entering Jack's room was that he needed to turn on the lights. Heavy curtains were drawn over the thin window, and the walls seemed to be painted a dark color. A pale boy with short blonde hair stood in the center of the room, with an unblinking stare from his completely black eyes, other than a thin white border. The temperature of this room seemed to be 20 degrees colder than the rest of the building. Hey Jack, I have good news, DeShawn said. This man is a wizard, and so are we. Jack smiled openly. The effect was that he looked mildly deranged and quite scary. That is awesome, he said in a childish voice. Cosmo had a cold feeling inside his chest that he didn't equate to the temperature of the room. Hi Jack, he said tentatively. I am Cosmo. He was surprised by the shiver in his voice. It is lovely to meet you, Cosmo, Jack said pleasantly. Even then it sounded creepy. Are you taking us away from this place? Yes, Cosmo said. He hoped he was making the right decision. We're all going to Q-Ville. Excellent, Jack said. Do you have a pet that you'd like to take? Cosmo asked as DeShawn tapped him on the shoulder. He isn't good with pets, DeShawn whispered to Cosmo. They always end up dead. Oh dear, Cosmo gasped. Maybe we should leave him here? Please, DeShawn asked. He's my best friend next to Royboy and Simon. Cosmo thought for a second. Okay. Alright, we'll take him, he said. Great. All three of you should pack and meet me in the foyer downstairs, Cosmo said to the boys, who each smiled and left to pack. When Cosmo stepped into the hallway, he pulled his wand out and summoned a scotch. He swallowed the drink in one swallow and made his way downstairs to the matron's office. The matron, Mrs. Palmer, was waiting with DeShawn's paperwork. Would I also be able to take his friends, Royboy and Jack? He asked her. Mrs. Palmer stifled a smile and said, Of course, you can't separate those three. Privately, she was happy to be saying goodbye to the creepy white kid. Jack scared the hell out of her. She smiled as she retrieved the boys' files. When she returned, she said brightly, Jack McAllister and Royboy Jones. When the paperwork had been filed and the boys met in the foyer, DeShawn asked, How are we getting there? Cosmo smiled. You'll soon find out. He led them down the front steps and through the gate to the sidewalk outside, which had the typical afternoon Harlem traffic. We are going around this corner, he explained to the boys, pointing to a point about 10 yards away, which led to an alleyway. The alleyway was empty, so Cosmo stopped and told the boys to all hold hands. He then grabbed hold of Royboy's hand and teleported the four of them to a large purple yacht, which Cosmo had borrowed from Lord Eric and parked near Portugal. The small crew applauded as the four appeared on the bridge. Welcome back, Mr. Folly, a violet-clad man said. Thank you, Captain Chartreuse. Cosmo smiled at the captain. We have an alteration to the plan. I see this, sir, the captain replied. Shall I have Renee set up 2 more staterooms? Yes, please, Jim, Cosmo said appreciatively.